Hey there, my name is Jeff Adams. Yeah, I wasn't sure that I was going to go forth with trying to do a sort of a talking video on my channel, whereas I've always just mostly had music. There's one interview thing out there. Um, yeah, but there's some things that people are curious about that I want to share. It's a little strange, It's like, there's things that are, I suppose, people want to know about. First off is the songwriting process. I've come up with quite a few songs, and it's like, well, how do you go about it? Songwriting tips, songwriting ideas, concepts, and where they come from. What are my songs actually about? I've gotten that a lot because I use a lot of obscure words in some of my stuff. So, and then of course the big thing and probably the most difficult thing to talk about is the hand and how I play guitar with that. So maybe I'll start with that just to get that out of the way. So what happened was I make jokes about it all the time. Oh, it was the guitar. I was playing too hard. And oops, oh no. Make jokes with the kids. It's like, oh my goodness, I seem to be missing a finger. Have you seen my finger? I can't find it anywhere. Stuff like that. And or then there's always one of my favorites too is, hey Jeff, what happened to your what happened to your finger? And of course, I have to go, what do you mean? Ah! I always love that one. I've got a lot of those, of course. And it doesn't really bother me. I mean, it's been about a decade now that it happens. It happened. It was actually a table saw. To get that out of the way, okay? It was chasing me. It wouldn't leave me alone. No, I'm just kidding. I endeavored to make something, and it didn't really work out very well, apparently. Um, so it was a series of 5 surgeries that it took to get my hand back into this shape. Orthopedic surgeon originally wanted to remove all 3 of those fingers, so I would have been like this, which would have been a bit more Django Reinhardt-ish, because of his injuries. If you're familiar with that artist, were a lot more severe. Probably, I don't know. I have nerve damage and injury going on. The long finger here, the tendon was shredded. It had to be reconstructed, and now I have a they refer to as a boutonniere deformity in the finger. I call it the long finger to be nice, of course. And then, of course, the stub, which wasn't going to be allowed to exist. It's a little bit misshapen because of the way that what was left was available. I have very nerve sensitivity there. Um, this was, yeah. Let's just talk about the tool. My thumb was fairly shredded as well. I had to have a skin graft here, which was taken from this side of the head. So this is curious. I could put some pictures of the entire healing process on there. Please let me know if that's something you would like. I'm not sure if it would be too gruesome to be shown, you know. But how do I play guitar? So I had to relearn, of course, everything that I did know. I have to relearn with different fingers, and then, of course, throughout the time in different surgeries, learning again with the different capabilities. Originally, just doing things with 2 fingers, and then, it's really kind of expanded my motivation. And, well, there's some people say that I'm a better guitar player for it. I still wonder, of course. I think about stuff like stem cells and things of that nature, and the technology that might exist today, whether it might be possible to regrow something like this. That would be an experiment I'd be interested in participating in, I think, of course. Because, yeah, who wouldn't want a regular hand? So, of course, a lot of 3-finger chords and a lot of lead things. I've been staying away from for reach. However, I do make some things happen. Of course, bars are a little bit more abstract, to do barred chords or power chords. It's either I'm doing the bass or the treble, but both at the same time. Like, obviously, if I had the whole finger, you'd make the whole noise, right? But in accents, in strum patterns and such, it doesn't make a difference, because I can even, and it doesn't really affect the overall sound of what I'm trying to do there, right? Or if I need to do it as a, rock or power kind of thing. Perfectly fine. Also found out along the way, of course, the dynamics of notes and chords. For example, if I'm doing my A open, right? Well, even without barring it, if I just play the certain notes in between, it is still the same thing, right? Same would hold through with the D, and then, of course, without that finger, or even before I realized the potential use of it, right? I realized that I can just leave it open, and it still actually sounds pretty cool if I can, not use it that way all the time. Because, well, as my dad always used to say, moderation in all things. So, yeah, you don't want to overuse any one style. There's obvious reasons to get tired of it, right? And then therefore you can, situate anything on the neck. And C sharp minor, it's the same kind of thing. Depends upon what you want to do and what kind of sound you're trying to create with it. Open, obviously, a lot of E jangles. I mean, I was experimenting around with those sort of things beforehand, and I really always enjoyed doing that. Taking a regular chord and then just opening up the E in the entire sequence to see. Well, also, it would not just to expand upon the sound during an instrumental, for example, but then with accompaniment. It creates a dynamic there, which is pretty cool, interweaving sounds. So, yeah, hope I'm being clear. Am I? First time I've tried to talk so much to myself. I'm not, to a camera. I did podcasting for quite some time. The Jeff Adams For Real podcast. It has like 40 episodes or something like that. I initially began podcasting when podcasting began around 2007, 2008. And I did consistent podcasting. At first, it was religious podcasting. I veered away from that somewhat just because it was it seemed to be somewhat of an embittered and cold, not audience, but like community, as far as trying to share experience. Whereas, just going about the creative process as I was anyway, I found it to be exploring similar themes in a different sense, a more personal sense, I suppose. So, but then I went to doing podcasting with my son, who at the time was like 6 or 7 years old, and something like that. And we called it he's called it the Jᴇғғ Cast. He's now like going to be very soon to be 19. And I treasure those. There's old podcasts. The Jᴇғғ Cast, I canceled that. I think there were domain and association changes over time where that just things have changed across time. Of course, you realize that the same podcasting platforms aren't the same as they were then, and everything is sort of altered. I then was doing the Addams Family Podcast. That still is available. I have the AddamsFamilyPodcast.com still. And then what I did was I put all the old episodes, or almost all of them, of the original Jᴇғғ Cast from the 2000s, and have those rebroadcast on the Addams Family Podcast. But, and I have 4 sons, so I thought that would be a really fun thing fun thing to do, to just to do the podcast with the entire family. Now, originally, of course, I started with my oldest, Jace, and then I wanted to include the other ones, the other children as well, as they became of the age as to sort of have the same experience, but as each individual child is different. I've noticed that it hasn't been a desire of everyone to do an individual thing. So then I tried to incorporate everybody, to say, let's just do the whole family, the Addams Family podcast. And that was, it's fun in its attempt and the nobility of effort, and so trying perhaps, but very chaotic. Everyone has their ideas and their proclivities and demands and temperaments, foci. I don't know. So anyway, I don't know if this is going to be a podcast so much about me playing songs. I have enough songs already broadcast. Yeah. How about streaming? Yeah, whether live and whatnot too. All sorts of stuff all over the place. So please feel free to check that stuff out. I mean, I hope you do. Anyway, some things over time that I've that have been pretty meaningful to me to have been able to put forward on these various platforms. The songs I write, my motivation, my ideas, I'd like to think that initially they come from a place of love, not to be cliche. But yeah, I think that's the maybe the inspirational factor to begin with that motivated it. Started with poetry when I was like very, very young, and was coming up with concepts and word structures in poetry that was kind of surprising to my parents at the time, but they encouraged it, and it developed into just melodies running through my head at a young age too. So I'm coming up with poetry, and then I'm putting my own melodies to it before I even know how to play anything. And of course, I think I had pneumonia one time when I was younger, and I was laid up for a week off of school when I was a teenager. And my dad had an old classical guitar that he was given for Christmas one year as, an idea. Maybe he expressed an interest in it at some point, but it sat in the closet for a long time. So I just asked, hey, you mind if I noodle around on that thing for a little bit? And had an old Beatles songbook. Ironically, the Beatles songbook that had the chords in it that were completely all the wrong chords. But anyway, it still had chords that I could learn and therefore draw from. And immediately, of course, had to, was creating melodies out of those, putting things that I'd already written to melodies once I discovered where notes were and such on the guitar. And I've been writing ever since. Long time, decades now, and it's been, I have a vault full of material. I know that it's in the hundreds. I definitely have over 100 published. And I'm thinking it's around 1,000 songs at this point, just going by the averages and whatnot. I haven't physically counted. Then, I always have to organize things. It's always a matter of organization in these things. So that's a little history on that, a little bit more in depth, a little bit more than just the headlines on the website or what will be the Wikipedia stuff. Right, I wasn't going to play anything. It's just sort of natural with the guitar in my hands and whatnot. So anyway, I don't know what else I can go into as far as this initial attempt to trying to see if this is something that you guys would be interested in discussing, interested in knowing more about. I suppose if this were going to be a reality, then I would ask that you'd please subscribe, and then ring the little bell thingy too. I feel cliche as can be, but hey, thanks for watching, and hey, maybe we can do this again sometime.